Okay, now Monica Ho. Monica, come on up. Monica is the CMO of GroundTruth, or formerly XAD. And Monica is one of the real industry pros in marketing and mobile location data. So can you guys kind of sit down right away, because we're going to run right into this. We've got a busy schedule yet. Monica, please take it away. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you.
That's Monica's green. I love the color.
Well, thank you so much, Barry, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you so much to the DPAA for having me here today. I'm going to try and do this quick because I know the next two sessions are standing in between you and drinks, so I've got about 8 minutes. So don't blame me for rushing. What I want to do today in the next 8 minutes is talk to the audience about the power of location visitation behavior and how that can be used to drive new opportunities in the digital out-of-home and out-of-home space. But before we do that, I wanted to give just a quick, brief background into GroundTruth for those of you that don't know who we are. So we're a global technology platform that's obsessed or laser focused on driving performance in the form of offline visits and sales for our partners as well as our customers. And we do that through targeting solutions and data solutions that take that location visitation behavior and use it as a primary source of intent. And as a result, we've become, as I said before, obsessed with essentially remapping, or what we call blueprinting, the physical world, and then indexing the behaviors that happen within it. And by doing that, we're able to reveal intentions, context, and behaviors unlike ever before. And said a different way, as you see on the screen, we say we reveal the world's behavior so you can build off and act on what's real. To illustrate that point, let's look at a very simple example. This is a user. They're conducting some online research, some search on a brand. They then go from search to visiting websites. And when you look at this user's search activity as well as their browser activity, you could easily extrapolate that this user is a female, that she likes high-end luxury brands. You might think she might even be affluent. That's really good data, and data that a lot of us as marketers use to build campaigns off of. But what's interesting is when you take that data set and you layer on top of it the actual physical, real-world visitation behavior of the user, her profile shifts slightly, but very important. You see that she is indeed female. She does love a high-end luxury brand, but she loves it. She needs it at a discount price. So a really quick illustration of how location completes the picture of who we are. I know this audience is a little bit more sophisticated than the typical audience around location, so you know how powerful location targeting and data can be. But the reality is, not all location data and not all of the behavior that comes from that location data is created equal. Again, a quick illustration. So this is one place, and to illustrate how the different ways that you can grab this location data and behavior, on the left is the typical geofence. This is a very great tactic when you're using it for targeting, and you're trying to reach somebody that's near something or inside of a store. What we found through our research is that although this is an effective tactic to reach people when they're near something, only about 80% of users that are reached within that fence actually go into the place of interest, right? Because of that, we've had to create a new model to collect data, and that new model is then used not just for targeting, because again, geofencing is great for targeting, but when you need a data set that's going to be used for audience building or attribution, you need something a little bit more precise and accurate, which is on the right. We call these blueprints. What you're seeing is we actually, through a technology, automate the creation of geo-boundaries around a place of interest. And we don't just draw one boundary, we draw three. And the reason why we do that is so we can identify behavior of in-store, which is the green boundary, from behavior that might happen just on lot. And you might ask, well, what's that for? Well, the use case here, think of a quick-serve restaurant. They could then start to segment their drive-through consumer from their actual sit-down consumer. Same with an auto lot. In an auto situation, you might want to understand who's actually on lot but doesn't go inside, because inside it could be service, not so much buying a new car. And then the third boundary that we create, we call that a retail block. Very different than the fence. We consider the retail block near me because it's taking into consideration shopping areas that are near the location of interest, but it's not separated by major roadways or waterways, which you could see the geofence doesn't take into account. So now that you know how granular this data set can be, How do you use it for actual audience building? There's two ways that we do it. The first is to use that very specific visitation behavior, and we look at that behavior over a 90-day period. And by looking at that behavior in a 90-day period, we could quickly identify shopping patterns in certain segments. In this case, sticking with the original example, a discount shopper. Where this gets really interesting, though, is when you're able to layer this type of behavioral data, offline behavioral data, onto data you might already have, whether that's in your CRM, your DMP, or through a third party. So let's take this example. We know this gentleman is male. He's between the ages of 21 and 40, and from some other third-party data, whether it's Polk or other, we know that he owns a Ford F-150. So he might belong to a segment of Ford loyalists or Ford truck consumer. But what's interesting here, especially for auto, when you layer on top that behavioral visitation data, we can quickly see when this user flips from a Ford loyalist to an auto intender. And why that's important for this segment, and a lot of what we spoke about today is a consumer journey and how that's changing, and nothing's more clearly changing than in the auto scenario. So Oracle just published a study a few weeks back about auto buyers, and what they found is that only 1 out of 4 auto buyers today actually visit the brand's website or app prior to making a purchase. Right? That's crazy. Because what we've seen in the past is we're going to know you're an auto intender because you visited the site. That behavior is changing. Because you've got that device in your hand, you're actually doing the research when you're on the lot, right? Through additional research that GroundTruth has, we know that the average auto buyer makes 2 dealership visits before they transact. So in this case, you can see how important that real-time behavior is to your audience segmentation and profiling. What I'm illustrating now, and I can't go through this study as thoroughly as I would like to because of time, but essentially this is a third-party study being conducted by the Mobile Marketing Association in conjunction with 10 large national brands. And they're doing this study to show the effectiveness of mobile targeting across media. But for illustration purposes, I'm only pulling out mobile targeting. And what I want you to see is that, yes, mobile targeting works, location targeting works, but when you actually combine location behavioral data to build audience segments, it performs 2 to 5 times traditional targeting tactics in mobile. So very, very important to understand, outperforming proximity. So typically when we run through examples and data like that, people like to say, well, that's awesome, but does it really scale? And I can only speak for our platform, but for GroundTruth, based on our owned and operated assets, we own WeatherBug, we also have an SDK and several data partnerships. We see in a given month 2 out of 3 smartphone users, of which we collect about 1.6 billion visits a month, or 20 billion visits annually. Why that's important is, again, when you're building audiences, you need a pretty stable base to do that. And we're the only platform this year to be third-party validated for accuracy. So we worked with the largest purchase panel in the US, InfoScout, and they validated that our behavioral insights and location data is over 90% accurate. So to illustrate, because I promised in the beginning, how behavioral data like visitation can be used to drive new opportunity for digital out-of-home and out-of-home, this is a platform that we've gotten alpha right now. Again, I would love to really go through this, but focus on the map. What we're looking at is the ability to take our partners' actual out-of-home assets and marry that with the behavioral data we have based on offline visitation. So in this scenario, we're looking for an affluent audience. And what the map is showing is how many out-of-home assets that over-index for that specific behavior nationally. And then you can drill down by DMA, by state. You can even go all the way down to the street level. In the sake of time, because I'm out of it, going down to the street level, you can see at this cross-section, there's 4 assets indicated by the purple orbs. The shading indicates which way the billboard's facing. The blue orb is highlighted, and you can see we pull in all of our partners' data about the billboard. But what we're also able to do, if you click on the second tab, is then start to marry that rich audience insights data by billboard asset. So again, you can look at it in aggregate, by market, or all the way down to the asset level. We even provide things such as brand affinities. So based on the users that pass by that billboard asset in 90 days, what other brands are they going to and coming from? So I had to go through that quickly. But in summary, hopefully you were able to get from that quick session, offline behaviors matter. And I know that this audience knows this better than most. But when that data is collected in the proper way, it's table stakes for really understanding who that consumer is and being able to message and engage that person in the proper way. And if you're able to leverage that, then that has a multiplication effect on your campaigns, leading to increased visits and sales for your customers and hopefully additional monetization opportunities for your business. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your patience.
So a minute.
Sure.
Monica, that was amazing. That was great. And I think you got 99% of it done. You did that really great.
Yeah, thank you.
With some good fast breathing. Thank you for that. I noticed there about the quality of the data.
Yes.
And who stated that?
We worked with InfoScout, which has the largest purchase panel in the US.
And they came away saying?
We're over 90% accurate at both our location as well as our interpretation of the behaviors.
Incredible in this day of Facebook and Google and falsifying and fake news. So you really are the ground truth. Thank you for that, Monica. Monica, give her a hand. Wonderful. Monica Ho. Thank you so much, Monica.